when my family's truth unraveled during a holiday trip. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My mom smiled like it was Christmas and said, "Put the papers away." The table was set with pine cones and those battery candles, but my hands were shaking so hard the printed pages rasped against each other. Graham sat at the head like he owned the air. Miles was halfway through a laugh that died in his throat when he saw what I was holding. I hadn't come to a cabin in the mountains to play detective. I'd come because Nadia, my mother, had texted me a week ago, glitter emojis and forced hope. Fresh start. Family tradition. No drama this year. Please. She'd followed it with a photo of the rental listing. A-frame cabin, fireplace, memory making. No drama was how my family said. Don't ask questions, don't remember wrong, don't make mom cry. The paper in my hand was a credit card statement. Not mine. Or it was mine. My name was on it. My old address. My social. Thousands of dollars I'd never spent, charged in towns I'd never been. And the second page was worse. A loan application with my signature beside the words co-borrower agrees. It was my signature, but I didn't remember signing it. Graham kept his voice gentle, like he was calming a dog. "Brooke, sweetie, sit down. You're worked up." "I printed these from your laptop," I said. My throat tasted like metal. "You left it open. You left everything open." Nadia's smile didn't move. "You snooped." "I looked because you'd been weird since we got here," I snapped. "You two kept whispering. You made a no phones at dinner rule. You made me put my purse in the hallway like I was 12. Miles lifted both hands. Okay, can we not do this right now? It's Christmas Eve." The cabin smelled like cinnamon and wet wool. Outside, snow pressed against the windows like a crowd trying to get in. The only sound was the fireplace popping and the faint hum of Graham's phone on the counter, face down, like it was hiding. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say this was a misunderstanding, that she'd help me fix it, that she was on my side. Instead, she said, very softly, "After all we've done for you, you're going to ruin this?" Graham's knee bumped mine under the table, too familiar, too confident, and he leaned close enough that only I could hear him. "You don't want to open this box, Brooke," he whispered. "A week ago, when Nadia called, I didn't pick up. We hadn't had a clean year in a decade. Every holiday came with a hidden agenda. Who was invited, who was forgiven, who was blamed. I was the practical daughter, the one who handled things, which was a flattering way to say I swallowed my feelings so everyone else could keep theirs. Brooke Bear, Mom said, voice syrupy. I found the cutest cabin. Just us. Mountains. Quiet. We need this." "We," I repeated, already sensing the hook. "You, me, Miles, and Graham," she said quickly, like she was sliding a pill into peanut butter. "No extended family. No politics. A reset." Graham's voice drifted in the background, too cheerful. "Tell her we'll make her hot chocolate." I stared at my calendar. I stared at the empty square where Dad used to be written in my head before he disappeared when I was 8. I didn't ask about that anymore. It was one of the family's sacred no-go zones. Mom texted right after the call. Screenshot of the listing. Another message. Fresh start. No drama. Family tradition. Then, as if she could feel my resistance through the screen, "I'm tired, Brooke. Please don't make this hard." That line always worked. It wasn't a request. It was a leash. So I said yes. I packed my snow boots, a book I wouldn't read, and the vague hope that maybe adults could outgrow their patterns if you gave them the right backdrop. The drive up was 4 hours of small talk. Miles rode shotgun, making jokes about cabin murder vibes, while Graham narrated the route like a tour guide. "Stop at the diner I like," Graham said. "Tradition." Mom nodded eagerly. "Tradition," she repeated, like she was trying it on. At the first gas station, Graham insisted on paying. He swiped his card, then frowned at the screen. "Huh," he said. "It's asking for Brooke's zip code." I laughed, because that was ridiculous. Why would it? He covered it with a chuckle. "Machines are weird. Probably the membership thing." Miles said, "Maybe the universe wants you to treat us, Brooks." Mom didn't laugh. She watched the keypad like it was about to betray her, and when Graham tapped in numbers, her hand gripped his sleeve so tight her knuckles went white. In the gas station mirror, I saw my face and realized I'd been holding my breath. Graham's Tradition Diner was the kind of place that sold nostalgia with bottomless coffee. He greeted the waitress like they were old friends. "Hey, Sherry." Table by the window? She beamed. Of course, Mr. Whitaker. Whitaker was Graham's last name. I'd never heard anyone call him that out loud. Mom slid into the booth beside him, too close, and patted his hand like she was calming him. Miles and I sat across. The vinyl seat squeaked under my weight. It was stupid how loud it felt. Sherry took our order and then looked at me. Still doing decaf, Brooke? I blinked. I don't drink decaf. Graham laughed fast. She's switching it up. New year, new Brooke. Sherry shrugged, scribbled, and walked away. Do you know her? I asked, trying to sound casual. Graham's eyes didn't leave the menu. Just friendly service. Small towns. Mom cut in, too bright. Can we not interrogate everyone? We're relaxing. Miles kicked my shin under the table in that old brother way that meant please stop. I let it go, but my stomach stayed tight. When the food came, Graham's phone buzzed. He checked it under the table, the screen lighting his lap. Mom's hand shot out and covered it. Not now, she murmured. Graham's smile held, but his jaw flexed. He stood. Bathroom. He left the booth, and Mom's eyes followed him like a magnet. When she realized I was watching, she straightened and reached for my mug. Brooke, she said softly, I need you to be kind this weekend. For me. What did I do? I whispered. You always do that thing, she said, and her tone turned sharp just for a second. The suspicion. The digging. You make people feel unsafe. I stared at her. You raised me to notice things. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she was biting down on a truth. When Graham returned, he slid a receipt into his wallet so fast I almost missed it. But the paper flashed, and I caught one line printed bold at the bottom. Loyalty member, Brooke H. Points redeemed. I didn't even have a loyalty account here. The waitress dropped the check, and Graham tucked it away like it was evidence, not trash. Miles kept talking about skiing like nothing happened, and Mom laughed too loudly at every joke. I listened, smiled, nodded, and felt the first cold certainty settle in my ribs. By the time we reached the cabin, it was dark and snowing sideways. Graham carried everything inside like he was proving strength. Coolers, firewood, Mom's tote bag that she usually insisted on holding herself. He unlocked the door without fumbling, like he'd done it before. Codes in the confirmation, I said, mostly to myself. Graham didn't look up. I memorized it. Mom clapped her hands. Okay, ground rules. Let's start fresh. Ground rules, I echoed, dropping my suitcase. Graham smiled. Simple stuff. No work. No outside drama. We're present. He pointed to a wooden bowl on the entry table. Phones go in here during meals. And at night. At night. I laughed, thinking he was kidding. Mom's smile was tight. It'll be good for you. Miles gave me a look like don't die on this hill. Honestly, I could use the detox. I wanted to argue, but I was tired and the cabin was pretty. There was a stone fireplace, a wreath on the wall, stockings with our initials hung, mine included. We didn't bring decorations, I said. Mom beamed. Graham handled it. He's so thoughtful. Graham's gaze flicked to me. I pay attention. Dinner was chili and cornbread. While Mom stirred, Graham handed me a mug of hot chocolate. Marshmallows? He asked. No, thanks. After we ate, Graham cleared his throat like a manager calling a meeting. One more thing. I printed a little itinerary, just to keep things smooth. He slid papers across the table. Actual papers, like it was a corporate retreat. Family discussion at 4. Holiday dinner at 7. Mom nodded approvingly. Structure is calming. I picked up the sheet. It had all our names, but under mine, there was a note. Brooke, bring ID. My skin prickled. Why would I need my ID for a hike? Graham didn't blink. You never know. Emergency. Miles snorted. Bear attack paperwork. Mom laughed too high. Just do it, honey. I set the itinerary down. What's family discussion? Mom's spoon stopped in the pot. Just talking. Clearing the air. Graham's smile stayed gentle. No ambushes. No accusations. We're here to heal. Behind his words, I heard the unspoken rule. Behave, or you'll be the villain again. When I went to my room, I noticed the lock on my door was different, new, and the spare key was already missing from its hook. I didn't sleep. The new lock on my door clicked every time the heat kicked on, like someone testing it. Around 2 a.m., I padded into the hallway for water and saw a strip of light under the office door at the end of the hall. The cabin listing said small workspace. Graham claimed he'd memorized the code because he liked being prepared. Now his laptop charger cord snaked out from under the door like a tongue. I told myself to turn around. I told myself I wasn't that person. Then I remembered the gas station keypad asking for my zip code, and Sherry saying, "Still doing decaf," and Mom squeezing Graham's sleeve like she was holding him together. So I knocked once, lightly. No answer. I pushed the door. It wasn't locked. The room was cramped. A desk, a printer, a stack of folders, and Graham's leather briefcase sitting open like it was inviting me. His laptop was asleep, but the printer tray held fresh paper. I glanced at the top sheet, and my stomach flipped. It was a change of address confirmation from the Postal Service. My name, AP. Oh, box in a town 2 hours from where I lived. Date, 3 weeks ago. Under it was a receipt from a notary, today's date, with the cabin's nearest town printed at the top. My hand hovered over the briefcase. I shouldn't. I did anyway. Inside, there was a manila folder labeled in neat block letters, Brooke H. Documents. I opened it and found copies of my driver's license, my birth certificate, and a form titled Durable Power of Attorney. My name was typed where the principal went. The signature line was blank, but the notary box was already stamped, as if my consent was a formality. There was even a sticky note in Graham's handwriting. Have her sign after dinner. Keep it light. And clipped behind it was an old photo, creased, faded, of an 8-year-old me sitting at a kitchen table, pen in hand, while Graham stood over my shoulder smiling for the camera. I couldn't breathe. That photo shouldn't exist. Graham didn't enter our lives until I was 12. Footsteps creaked in the hallway, slow and deliberate, coming straight toward the door. I slammed the folder shut and stepped back just as the office door swung wider. Graham filled the doorway in flannel pants, and his eyes were wide awake. Behind him, Mom's silhouette hovered, like she'd been standing there listening. "What are you doing?" Graham asked, voice low. "I couldn't sleep." I lied, and hated how easy it sounded. I saw the light. Mom slid past him and shut the door, cutting off the hallway. "Brooke," she said, like I was a child caught with scissors. "Give us privacy." My pulse thundered. If I left now, I'd never get answers. If I stayed, I might not get out. Graham reached for the briefcase. "It's work stuff. Not your concern." "Then why is my birth certificate in it?" I shot back. For a beat, his charm glitched. Then it clicked back on. "You're confused. That's a copy you asked me to make years ago." I did not. Mom stepped between us. "You're overtired. You're seeing patterns that aren't there." I pointed at the printer tray. "Change of address. APO box. A notary receipt dated today." "Explain that." Graham's jaw flexed. "We're planning something for you. A surprise." I laughed sharp. "With a power of attorney?" Mom's eyes flicked to the folder, then away. "Stop saying it like it's sinister." Graham leaned over the desk, tapped the laptop awake, and I saw my opening. The screen lit up on a message app. A thread was open, notifications piled. He followed my gaze and moved to close it, but I was faster. I stepped in, snapped a photo with my phone, still in my pocket because I'd forgot the bold rule, and in that second the screen burned into me. Text thread. Contact name. Loan Officer J. Top message. December 21st, 6:14 p.m. Need Brooke H. Signature on POA before disbursement. Notary on site? Graham replied at 6:15 p.m. Yes. Cabin dinner 7 p.m. She'll have ID. Keep it discreet. Then, at 6:17 p.m., a message from Mom's number appeared in the same thread, a group chat. Nadia. If she hesitates, remind her we covered her school debt. She owes us. The timestamp felt like a deadline. Mom's face drained of color when she realized what I saw. "Brooke, that's..." Graham's hand snapped out, grabbed my wrist, and he squeezed hard enough to hurt without leaving marks. "Delete the photo," he said, still smiling, and I felt my skin crawl. His fingers dug into my wrist. I could feel my pulse against his grip. Mom's voice turned pleading, stage whisper urgent. "Graham, don't." He released me instantly, like he was generous. "Sorry. Reflex. You startled me." I flexed my hand. "You're planning a loan in my name." Graham sighed. The sigh of a patient man saddled with a difficult woman. "No. We're trying to fix a problem you created." "What problem?" I heard myself ask. Mom stepped in, eyes shiny. "Your credit, Brooke. It's not great." I almost laughed. My credit was excellent. I was the one who nagged Miles to pay his card on time. You have no idea what you're talking about, I said. Mom's chin lifted. Don't speak to me like that. Graham opened the folder again and flipped to a page I hadn't seen. A report with my name at the top and a score that made my stomach drop. It looked official. It looked real. See, he said gently. We found out, and we wanted to help you. That's what families do. But if you're going to snoop and accuse, that report is fake, I said, but doubt crept in fast. What if something happened and I missed it? What if someone stole my identity? Mom touched her chest. Do you hear yourself? You're calling your mother a liar on Christmas Eve. I'm asking for the truth. Graham tilted his head. The truth is you've always been dramatic, Brooke. You remember things wrong. You get these fixations. The old script slid into place. I was the problem. Miles appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. What's going on? Mom instantly switched to warm. Nothing, honey. Brooke's just stressed. Graham laughed lightly. She wandered in here and spooked herself. Miles looked at me, then at them. Brooke, come on. Not tonight. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shove my phone in his face and show him the texts. But I could also see how this ended. Mom crying, Miles blaming me, Graham calm. So I swallowed it. I pasted on the smile they liked. You're right, I said, hating myself. I'm tired. Mom's shoulders dropped in relief. She squeezed my arm like a reward. That's my girl. Graham closed the laptop and added, tomorrow we'll talk. Like adults. In my room, I locked the lock and sank to the floor, trying to breathe. My phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. The unknown number's text was blunt. Don't sign anything. Call me. Celeste. My heart stuttered. Aunt Celeste was the family's designated problem, and the only one I trusted. I texted back, fingers clumsy. I'm at a cabin. What do you know? 3 dots appeared, vanished, then reappeared. Your mother won't tell you, she wrote. She never does. Pull your credit report. Right now. I sat on the bed with my laptop balanced on my knees and my phone in my palm like a weapon. The cabin Wi-Fi was slow, but it worked. I logged into my bank. I opened the credit bureau site. My hands sweated as I answered security questions that suddenly felt meaningless. When the report loaded, my stomach dropped so hard I tasted bile. There were accounts I didn't recognize. A store card opened when I was 19, a personal loan at 22, a line of credit at 25. Payments made, then missed, then made again. Addresses attached that weren't mine, one in the same small town near the cabin. I clicked into details and saw something worse. The phone numbers on file. One of them was Mom's. Another was Graham's. I whispered, no, even though the screen didn't care. I took screenshots and set up a fraud alert with shaky clicks. Celeste called. I answered without thinking. Her voice was gravelly with anger. Listen to me, Brooke. This didn't start recently. What do you mean? She exhaled hard. Do you remember when you were little and your mom said you were helping with paperwork? The kitchen table. The pen. My throat tightened. The photo. The 8-year-old me holding a pen. A memory flickered. Me scribbling my name while Mom told me I was so mature, and a man's laugh. I thought that was for a library card. I whispered. Celeste went quiet for a beat, and that silence said everything. Honey, she said, softer. They've been using you. But why bring me here? I asked, staring at the itinerary on my nightstand like it was a trap map. Celeste's voice turned sharp again. Because whatever they're doing now is bigger, and they need you alive and compliant. I looked at the door, at the shiny new lock, and I finally understood. This trip wasn't a vacation. It was a controlled environment. And I was the missing signature they couldn't get without me. I waited until the cabin went quiet again. Miles's snores started first, loud and steady, like he was still a kid on a road trip. Mom and Graham's room stayed dark, but I heard muffled voices, short bursts, then silence, like they were arguing without words. I slipped out with my phone, and the folder photo burned into my brain. The bowl by the door was full of their phones, obedient and gleaming. Mine stayed in my pocket. The office was locked now. Of course it was. So I looked for softer places to pry. Mom's coat was draped over a chair. I hated myself, and then I didn't. I checked the pockets. I found a folded receipt from the gas station, loyalty redemption under Brooke H. Again, and a partial card number that matched mine. In the kitchen drawer, under the corkscrew, there was a stack of printed papers with Graham's neat handwriting on top, talking points. I read them with my heart hammering. Emphasize, we helped with school debt. Emphasize, family first. If she gets emotional, redirect to holiday. And one line that made my skin go cold. Do not mention Dad. I flipped through the rest and found a photocopy of a check made out to Graham Whitaker from an account labeled Estate of Henry, and the last name was mine. My father's last name. I opened my email and searched welcome and credit. The results were a graveyard. Old bank notifications I ignored because I thought they were spam. An email from a store card. Thanks for opening your account. Dated the week I started college. I clicked it and saw the phone number on file, Mom's. I texted Celeste a photo of the talking points. She replied instantly. Print everything. Don't confront alone. I saved screenshots, uploaded them to a cloud drive, and changed my email password. Each click felt like a tiny rebellion. In the living room, the stockings hung in a row. Mine had a candy cane tucked inside. I pulled it out, and a small key fell into my palm. Brass. Worn. Not from this cabin. A key was never just a key. I turned it over and saw a tiny tag attached P.O. Box 148. My P.O. box. The one I didn't know existed until tonight. I was still staring at the key when the living room light flicked on. Graham stood in the doorway in socks, one hand on the wall switch, the other holding his phone. His actual phone, not in the bowl. So the rules were only for us. His eyes dropped to my palm. What's that? I curled my fingers. A candy cane. He walked closer, smile mild. At 2 in the morning? I couldn't sleep, I said, forcing a laugh. Too much chili. He stopped an arm's length away. You've always been a bad liar, Brooke. My mouth went dry. I'm not lying. He reached out, not touching me, but close enough that I felt the threat. You're spiraling. And when you spiral, you get reckless. Like you grabbing my wrist. I shot back. His eyebrows lifted, offended. I apologized. Behind him, Mom appeared in the hallway, robe pulled tight like armor. Is everything okay? She asked, voice already trembling. Graham kept his eyes on me. Brooke was just wandering. Mom's gaze flicked to my hand. What are you holding? I opened my palm slowly. Candy cane, yes. The key was hidden under it, biting into my skin. Holiday snack, I said. Mom laughed, too relieved. Oh, okay, let's all go back to bed. Graham didn't move. Phone, he said to me. What? You said you forgot the bowl rule, he said smoothly. But you've got it now. Hand it over for the night. My stomach dropped. If he took it, he took the evidence. He took Celeste. He took my exit. I made my voice sleepy. It's charging in my room. He tilted his head. Go get it. Mom stepped forward. Graham, honey. He didn't look at her. Brooke. I was trapped between them and the staircase. I couldn't run without making it a scene, and scenes were how my family branded you forever. So I nodded. Fine. I walked toward my room, every step measured, and I felt Graham behind me like a shadow. At my door, I slid the key under my pillow with 2 fingers and opened the room. Graham stood in the doorway while I plugged my phone into the wall. He watched the screen light up. Then his own phone buzzed, and the screen flashed a preview notification. Notary confirmed. 4 p.m. His smile didn't change, but his eyes did. Tomorrow, he said quietly. We're going to settle this, one way or another. Morning came with fake normalcy. Mom made pancakes like we were in a commercial. Graham joked with Miles about chopping wood. I sipped coffee and watched Graham's eyes track where my phone was on the counter, like he was counting bullets. At noon, Graham announced, town run. We need more eggs and fire starters. I'll go, I said too fast. Mom's smile wobbled. No, honey, you should rest. You were emotional. I need ibuprofen, I said. Headache. Graham's gaze sharpened. I'll take you. Miles jumped in, cheerful. I'll drive. You guys hate my playlist, but you need me. Graham hesitated, just a fraction, then nodded, like he was allowing it. In the car, I texted Celeste. I'm going to the P.O. box. If I don't answer, call the police. Miles glanced over. Who are you texting? Aunt Celeste, I said. She thinks something's up. Miles groaned. She always thinks something's up. Do you? I asked. He shrugged, eyes on the road. Mom's stressed. Graham's stressed. You're stressed. It's family. The post office was in a strip mall next to a small-town clinic and a tiny police station. My hands shook as I slid the brass key into box 148. The door popped open. Inside was a thick envelope, my name typed on a label. There was also a stack of bank mail, statements, approvals, and a letter from a lender confirming Power of attorney received. Received. Not signed by me. Not approved by me. Just received. Miles whistled low. Okay, he said, and his voice lost the joking edge. That's not normal. I walked across the parking lot like I was moving through water and stepped into the police station. The deputy at the desk looked up, quiet. I think someone's using my identity, I said, and my throat burned. He asked for basics. I showed him screenshots. I showed him the envelope. He gave me a report number and told me to call the fraud departments, to freeze everything, to keep copies. When we got back to the car, Miles stared at the envelope like it might bite him. Are you going to tell Mom? I'm going to tell the truth, I said. At dinner, where they can't wriggle out. Miles swallowed. Brooke, Graham doesn't play fair. I know, I whispered, and tucked the police report in my coat pocket. Back at the cabin, Graham waited with a pen and the notary's card. Holiday dinner was roast chicken and forced cheer. Mom lit the battery candles like they were holy and waved the notary in. He slid the power of attorney toward me with the pen. Just a signature, he said. Then we relax. I didn't touch it. I set my phone on the table and hit play on a recording from the police station. A calm male voice filled the cabin. Report number 25 to 184. Suspected identity theft. Mom's smile froze. Brooke, what is that? Consequences, I said. I went to box 148. Graham's eyes flicked to Mom. Fast, guilty, then back to me. You're spiraling again. It's in my name, I said, and slid the thick envelope onto the table. So it's my mail? I laid out evidence. Credit report screenshots with Mom's phone number on file, the group text with the timestamp, the talking points sheet, and the check from my father's estate. Miles leaned in. Dad had money? Mom's face drained. It wasn't like that. Graham's voice stayed warm. Henry's situation was complicated. Your mother protected you. From what? I asked. From knowing you drained his estate and then used my identity when it wasn't enough? Mom's eyes flashed. We paid for your college. You told me I had scholarships, I said, and watched her flinch. I turned my phone so Miles could see the screenshot. Nadia at 6:17 p.m. If she hesitates, remind her she owes us. Miles stared at it, blinking hard. Mom. She reached for him. Miles, baby, we were drowning. Your dad's mess. Graham saved us. Graham nodded like a martyr. It was temporary. We meant to fix it. With a power of attorney, I said, tapping the unsigned line. So you could take a bigger loan in my name. The notary cleared her throat. If there's a dispute, I should leave. No, Graham said, sharp enough to make her pause. I slid the old photo forward. 8-year-old me, pen in hand, an adult man's arm in frame, a grin I now recognized. Explain this, I said. Graham's smile twitched. That's not me. Mom made a sound like she was choking, and something in her finally broke. It was you, she whispered, not to me, at him. You said it was the only way. Miles pushed back from the table, chair scraping. You used Brooke since she was a kid? Graham's face hardened, and his hand shot toward my phone. I jerked my phone back and stood. Graham stood too, taller, blocking the hallway like a bouncer. Hand it over, he said, voice flat now. You've made your point. My point is you committed fraud, I said. For years. Mom reached for me, sobbing. Brooke, please. Don't do this. Not like this. Like what? I asked, and my voice shook anyway. Like the truth. Miles stepped between us, palms out. Graham, back up. Graham's eyes flicked to him, cold. Stay out of adult problems. Miles laughed once, bitter. You literally made me call you Dad. The notary was already gathering her coat. I'm leaving, she said, eyes wide. I'm sorry, Graham snapped. Sit down. And she froze for a second before bolting toward the door. The front door slammed, and the cabin suddenly felt smaller. Mom's sobs turned into anger on a dime. Do you know what you'll do if you report this? You'll destroy us. You destroyed me, I said. She flinched, then grabbed for the one weapon she always used. After all we've done for you. Stop, Miles said, loud enough to make Mom blink. Stop saying that. Graham moved closer to me, speaking low, intimate, like a secret. Brooke, be smart. You file that report, and the banks come. Your mother is implicated. You want her arrested? On Christmas? I stared at Mom. She looked back, eyes begging, and I felt the old reflex, the urge to fix it, to swallow it, to take responsibility for what they did. Then I remembered the key in my pocket, the P.O. box stuffed with mail, the photo of a child signing away her future. I'm not signing anything, I said. And I'm not deleting anything. Graham's nostrils flared. You're making a choice. I already did, I said, and I hit the emergency call shortcut on my phone. Mom lunged. Brooke, don't. Miles caught her wrist. Mom, no. For a second it was chaos. Mom crying, Miles pleading, Graham reaching again. Then my phone rang, and a dispatcher answered, bright and calm. 911. What's your emergency? Graham's eyes locked on mine, and he smiled like he was going to punish me later. The deputy arrived 20 minutes later, lights washing the snow blue. Graham put his hands up and turned charming again. Officer, this is a family misunderstanding. I handed over my phone with the screenshots and the report number. I handed over the envelope from the P.O. box. The deputy's face changed, subtle, professional, but real. He separated us in different rooms. He asked me questions I answered through a dry mouth. Dates, accounts, signatures, whether I felt safe staying here. Mom kept crying. Graham kept insisting I was unstable. Miles kept repeating, she didn't know. She didn't sign. In the end, the deputy didn't cuff anyone. He didn't solve it in a tidy TV way. He took statements, photographed the documents, and told Graham, firmly, not to contact me about finances. Then he looked at me and said, Ma'am, I recommend you leave tonight. So I did. Miles grabbed his duffel and followed me without looking back. Mom stood on the porch in slippers, mascara streaking, whispering my name like it was a spell that would pull me back into line. Graham stayed behind her, one hand on her shoulder, steering her. We drove down the mountain in silence until Miles said, I can't go back there. I let him sleep on my couch for a week. Then two. He changed his mailing address like it was an apology. I spent the next month on hold with fraud departments. I filed disputes with every lender. I mailed copies of the police report. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. I changed every password I'd ever used. I set up 2-factor on everything, even shopping apps. Celeste helped me find a therapist who didn't tell me to forgive for my own peace. She taught me a new word, boundaries, without guilt. Mom tried to bargain. First it was texts, we can explain. Then it was rage. You're doing this to punish me. Then it was silence, which was always meant to make me come crawling back. Graham's lawyer sent one letter, worded to imply I was defaming him. My lawyer, yes, I got one, answered with copies of the evidence and the police case number. By January, the lenders started closing accounts. By February, I got a notice that an investigator wanted an in-person interview. And the night before that interview, Mom left me a voicemail that changed everything. Mom's voicemail was only 42 seconds, but it rewrote the last 20 years. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. Brooke, it's me. I'm alone. Graham left. I sat on my kitchen floor with the phone on speaker, Miles hovering in the doorway like he was afraid to breathe. Mom kept going, words tumbling. He took cash. He took the checkbook. He took the folder from the office. I found copies of your ID in his drawer. I found a list. My stomach clenched. A list of what? I whispered, even though she couldn't answer me live. Then she said the line that landed like a stone. He was going to do it to Miles next. I didn't stop him. I just wanted us to survive. Miles made a broken sound, half laugh, half sob. Mom's voice cracked. Your father's estate wasn't debt. It was money. I lied because I didn't want you to leave me. And then Graham said we could borrow from you until things got better. And it did for a while. And then it didn't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The message ended with her asking me to call her back, like this was fixable with one conversation. I didn't call. I forwarded the voicemail to my lawyer. I forwarded it to the investigator. I saved 3 backups, because my family taught me what disappeared when you trusted people. The interview happened. It was humiliating and clinical. I explained my own life like it was a case file. But the investigator listened. The paper trail was messy, and it took months, but accounts started falling off my report. Not all at once. Not neatly. Progress looked like a slow drip, not a miracle. Miles stayed in therapy. So did I. Some nights we talked about childhood and realized how many funny stories were actually training. Sign here, don't ask, be grateful, keep the peace. I still loved my mom. That part didn't turn off like a switch. But love didn't require access anymore. The practical takeaway was unglamorous. Pull your credit report every year, freeze it if anything feels off, and never sign just a form to keep someone happy.